start with Alex in the corner here and go right around.
Alex Forbes, Manager of Planning.
I'm Julie McCabe, and I'm the City Councilor for Ward 9.
Simon Moore, President.
Thank you.
I'm Greg Morrison, I'm planning with the city.
Kara Maloney, resident member.
Aaron Stafford, resident member.
Mitchell Twill.
Do you want us to? Okay, Todd Saunders, Heritage Officer.
Greg Munn, resident member.
Eleni Yankoff, City Councilor for Ward 1.
Wayne McKinnon, resident member. Philip Brown, Office of the Mayor.
Ellen in the corner.
He's the wheelheads.
Thank you very much. So I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business, declaration of conflict of interest. Everyone's had a chance to review the material, so does anyone have a conflict in any of these matters? No? Thank you. Approval of the agenda. You've had a chance to review a very short agenda. Do I have a mover to approve the agenda? Moved by Simon, seconded by Julie. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Passed unanimously. Adoption of minutes. You've had a chance to, I think, review the minutes. Could I have a mover for the minutes?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Because I wasn't part of the original. I saw the Shipwreck Inn and there was discussion about a food truck. And I was reading through the minutes. I just wondered if the owners had been notified that the food truck was not favorable to put there.
Yes, they have been.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Okay. So do I have a mover for the adoption of the minutes? Moved by Councilor Yankoff, second by Greg Munn. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Business arising from the minutes. Is there any business other than Councilor Yankoff's comments? No. Moving right along, the reports. 129 Parnell Street, exterior renovations. Do you take this, Todd, at this time?
Yeah, I'll give a little introduction, and we actually have the architect here as
Okay.
well. So we're looking at the property on the corner of Grafton and Palmer Street. It's next to Northumberland condos, and there's a number of smaller scale buildings in the area. It's a mix of both commercial and residential in the area. This building was the Family Catholic Services building, and it's being converted into apartments. Originally, it would have been a double tenement building built in 1884. The alterations that we're looking at, I think, are all fairly minor in nature. We'll get Shallon to present those. That should have. Shallon, do you want to go through
Yeah,
those?
sure.
I can give you that.
So yeah, these were just some pictures of the existing, which Todd already showed. And again, this is a little too fast. This is just a model of the existing, which basically just highlights all the features that we're mostly retaining. And this is showing the back. There's currently a fire escape that goes from the 3rd floor all the way down the back of the building, so we're going to try to clean that up a bit. So this is the proposed revision, and generally we want to keep as much of the aesthetic of this building as we can. The roof needs to be replaced, so we're proposing just new asphalt shingles to replace the green ones that are there currently. We're keeping all the wood trims that are existing. The windows are all currently white wood windows. They all need to be replaced, but we are going to replace them with black wood windows on all sides. We're trying to retain as much of the cladding as possible. So it's a bit of a mixed cladding everywhere. So it's all cedar, but the front is like a larger cedar, and then some of the north side has a smaller cedar, and one portion of the back has small cedar. So the owner would like to replace it all to match. So we're suggesting that we replace the north side and the area of the back with the larger shingles that are on the front currently. The only other change is the doors. Because we're changing from an office space to apartments, we need to add additional doors. And this is actually a revision. I had talked to Todd earlier this month, and this is the structure that the doors used to have originally. It was kind of the two separate houses. So we're going to reinstate it back to that form. So the door on the left actually is in the same place as it is existing, and then we're mirroring that on the other side to replace the door that used to be there. And we're going to replace them with a traditional style wood door. Now, we don't have any photos of what this building actually looked like before, but Todd gave us a few references of buildings around town that are around the same time period, so we're going to try to kind of emulate those doors on the front. And then we have extended like a porch deck on the front just to address those two doors. And that ramp is actually existing. We're just going to change out the railing. And then the back, sorry, I can't really get that centered, but the back, basically the only thing we're doing is the cladding, and then we're taking down the fire escape and adding a deck on the second floor, which you can kind of see the glass there. Which is also going to act as the exit from the second and third floors. And this is just, these are very preliminary. We don't know all the structural elements that are there now, so these are probably going to change pretty significantly, but this was just to show you what we're thinking. So it's 3 apartments on the main floor. Again, 2 doors will enter from Connell Street and 1 door will enter from the back. And then the second and third floor will be 2-story units. So they'll only have exits from the second floor off that deck. That's it.
Thank you, Charlotte. Any questions of Charlotte?
Charlotte, I have a question about the siding. You know, I know that there's the narrow profile on the line.
Yeah.
I would suspect the narrow is the original,
Yeah.
but you're going to replace it all with the all wide.
Yeah, actually Todd mentioned that to me as well. The reason that we're proposing that is just because there's more of the other cladding and he didn't want to change too much. So we're just replacing the one with the smaller quantity. That's basically the reason. Just minimize the amount of renovations on the exterior.
And the new windows, are they the white with the black? Are they going to be double hung as well? Or single hung?
Yes, they're going to be double hung, yeah.
It's the same profile as
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Councillor Yankoff?
Yeah, I just, you said it too quickly for me. Did you say it's 5 units?
It's 6 units, 3 on the main floor and then 3 2-stories on the second, third.
Okay, great, thank you.
Did I miss a hand over here? Tara?
Actually, I'll grab that opportunity. I don't think it was my hand.
Gift certificate.
I was just wondering, what are the small windows running down the side? It would be the driveway right there, the 3 or 4 going down on the main floor. Those are small, square, non-operable windows, or what are they?
Those are just the existing windows.
Oh,
Yes,
are they?
yeah.
Okay.
This is actually, we haven't punched any new openings in this besides the door.
And are you replacing those with black wood as well?
Yeah. Yeah. All the windows are in pretty poor condition, so they have to be replaced.
Okay.
Can you just talk a little bit about your choice of glass railings on the decks and on the ramps and stuff?
Yeah, we're just trying to minimize the busyness of the spindle railings and kind of clean it up a bit. That was kind of the idea of the glazing.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Anyone? Oh,
Shane, I
Member-
asked this at the last meeting. Down at Rochford and Houston, we have Jim Johnson's building and had erect the steel fire
Staircase.
escape. And then we had down there on Pownell and Sydney. The address I have it here is 70 Sydney Street. They went with a cedar fire escape.
Yes.
Will this be, it looks, I know it's wood, so will it be a cedar that you'll be using?
It's a good question. We didn't really get too far into kind of what.
No, the reason I'm
It is
asking
gonna be
because
wood, but
Mr. Johnston at the corner of Rochford and Euston had to go ahead with a steel structure because it,
Right.
I think, matched or blended in or added to the steel fence that's around that's the original steel fence.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if, you know, are we looking at cedar, are we looking at something that will be heritage?
Our intention was to construct it out of wood. Now, again, we haven't done anything structurally yet or anything like that, but yeah, we're gonna try to build it out of wood.
And
That's the
Todd,
preferred look.
that's consistent of what we're trying to do with these fire escapes and heritage buildings?
I think we're trying to make them as inconspicuous as possible. And I think the one at 140 Rochford Street, we wanted it to be metal so the members, the components would be a little bit lighter or smaller. And it was exposed to the street. It was right on the street face. This one is tucked in the backyard, if you will, and it's a little bit in off Grafton Street.
Yes.
Yeah, and this actually, just to be clear, that won't be a fire escape, it'll actually be like a full staircase.
That'll be used by the residents.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from anyone else? Everybody okay? So Todd, at this point in time, do you usually get a recommendation via resolution?
We would, and we may want to include just a clause in it that any details would be resolved in the planning department. Because we don't yet really know what doors are going in and a few particulars like that.
So you want to just approve it in principle, so to speak?
I think we would do it just with a clause that any forthcoming details would be approved.
Okay.
Department.
Do I have a mover of that resolution?
No.
Moved by Councillor Yankoff, seconded by Greg. One, that the application, for the lack of a better term, at 129 Collins Street be forwarded to council for approval. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried, unanimous. Thank you very much, Helen. You're going to do the second one too, apparently.
Yes.
I'd like to welcome Mr. Quentin Bevan, your cohort there behind you for this particular application. Welcome, Quentin. Todd.
Okay. So this is 68 Main Street, and it's not really an application, this is an inquiry. This is not a designated property, but it's located in the 500 lot area. And they have made application to demolish the building, which is an as of right under the zoning and development bylaw. So this is just an inquiry to Heritage Board if we want to make a recommendation to council to designate this building. And we did look at it in September, and we had a discussion about it at that point. There had been an application, I think, in 2008 to demolish the building, which was denied. At that time, the rules were different. They've since changed. In September, we had a look at it, and the board, I think, thought that given the proposed development at that time, we would be losing too much of the character of Queen Street, and we were nervous about that. So we went back to the applicants and conveyed that message, and they've come up with some different ideas. So this building is obviously a two-story building. It has a simple double storefront windows on either side of doors. It dates to 1927, I think was designed by Bones Blanchard. When we looked at the proposed development last September, it really comes in two parts. There's a development to happen on the middle section of this block, which I think involved demolishing 5 buildings. At that point, we asked Heritage Board if they wanted to ask council if they wanted to designate any of those, and we didn't. So they had approval, in essence, or they're proceeding with development of the center of the block. The development really is in 2 pieces because through the center of the block there is a city right-of-way. Initially, they were looking at keeping the designated building, the old Duffy store on the corner, and renovating the other buildings. And in doing that, I think they got in and looked at this particular building and decided that it really wasn't conducive to renovation. It was too far gone. This is the 1878 panoramic view that sort of shows the right-of-way through the block. It shows some variation in the different buildings that have been there over the years. And so this is the current situation where we have, these are the buildings in the back which are much older, if you will, than 1927, that the board didn't have a problem with them demolishing. We're looking at this corner building, and I think initially when we first saw this schematic, it was to essentially keep the Queen Street streetscape, if you will, and do a larger scale development behind, which is what the 500 block design guidelines encourage. So initially the design on Queen Street looked like this. And I think the board at the time, we thought it was sort of taking away all the character that's currently there. The existing Bevan Brothers building was sort of changed dramatically, as well as the one on the corner. So this is a shot of a funeral, I think 1890s, showing that previously there had been a larger scale building there. And I think this is the current proposal, or what they've come back with this month. And I'll let Shalyn run through some of that. You can give that a try, and if not, I can go to a couple.
Todd, could I just ask a quick question before you go on? What happened to the city right away? Has it been built over?
It's still there.
But you can't use it.
Yep.
So does that mean you have to reinstate the right of way? Because isn't a right of way a right to pass through?
We're not blocking the right of way. It's still behind, between the back of these buildings and the new development that was proposed.
Oh, so the original and the old fashioned pictures, it started at Queen Street and went all the way through.
Oh,
I'll go back.
Or maybe I saw the little.
I think it goes Dorchester to
Yes.
King.
It goes Dorchester.
Oh,
It's
It
that back
goes
alley.
behind these.
Okay, so
Exactly.
maybe I saw the picture the wrong way. I just wanted clarification. Thank you. Yeah.
You can see that. Oh, you can't see that.
Yeah, it was a few more back.
Yeah, so I guess just to kind of follow up on what Todd said, our original intention was to keep all those three buildings and just kind of give them a facelift. We took our structural engineer down there to look at that building, and I think the question became, I guess, how would we go about fixing this, and can it even be saved? So I think Todd circulated his report that he did, which I'm not going to read it because you guys can kind of read through the long details, but basically it says that it's going to be very difficult and expensive for what the building offers, and that demolition of the building should be considered as the primary option. So that's kind of what brought us back to this stage again. So I know you guys saw this last month, and Quentin and I met with Todd and Greg after that. And they had expressed that, you know, there's a lot of concern from this board about demolishing a building on Queen Street. And that really the main feedback was that we want to keep the character of the street. And I think the building beside that, we also tried to take back to look a little bit more similar to what it is currently. So, I mean, this is really just for discussion. We wanted to show you sort of the scale and the materialities that we were thinking about. But, you know, Quentin and I have had this conversation, like we're very open to talking about that and working with you guys to sort of make sure that the right fit gets put here. So again, showing that picture of what the scale was before the building that's currently there. And we would propose to go back to something like that within the bylaws, of course, which I think is 49 feet currently. That's just another view of that building. Just a view of the existing structure. So this would emulate that scale. So we're saying maintain the 49-foot height as dictated in the bylaws. for materiality, we would like to do something a little bit more durable than wood. So we've been talking about some color of brick, which we showed a few different options here, and possibly on the less prominent side, doing some type of metal cladding. So I think this is showing like a light brick with some type of datum line kind of over at the scale of the pedestrian, which we have a close-up of. We have to do, well, we're going to propose a little bit larger window than what's shown currently, which would be more fitting for probably a commercial space on the bottom and some living space on some of the upper floors. And then you'll see beside that the other building looks very similar to what it is currently, just new paint, new windows. We'll do some new signage, and we're showing potentially paint or do new brick on the bottom floor. Again, we'll have to see exactly what has to be done there to fix up the facade. So this was, again, through our discussions with Todd, trying to sort of emulate the scale of that existing building a little bit more on the ground floor. So instead of doing one big glass front, we will do two sort of punch doors. We did still propose a little bit larger window on the bottom floor to be more fitting for a commercial space. That's just a view of the whole street. Again, we would fix up the building that Downtown Convenience is in. We would fix up a little bit as well, but it looks very similar to what's there now. And then we're not touching the designated building on the corner of the Red House. So this is a view at street level, showing some type of sunscreen or something that really kind of brings down the scale when you're walking along the street. And then these are just showing different, again, colors is kind of, we haven't gotten into that yet, but maybe doing a more traditional brick on the front. And then we also tried doing maybe like a darker brick, which I know we've used in other places around the city as well. That's it.
Thank you. Questions?
Could I ask just
Todd Brown, go ahead.
In the conclusion, you said the report is for information, and where the ability to request the council impose a temporary designation on a resource with characteristics that may meet the criteria for designation if deemed appropriate. So you recommend in there that we designate it as a heritage resource?
Well, that's what we're to discuss. No, I'm not recommending that we designate it as a heritage resource, but I think part of that hinges on what the rest of the character of the street that's going to be retained.
Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
Sorry, so we're just really want to discuss pros and cons of this proposal. So that's what I understand, right? I just wanted to say, I want to maintain the character of Queen Street, but the thing is, to me, the existing building does not. It's although it's almost a century old, the character of Queen Street is post 1866 fire to 1900, and that building never sat right with me. This whole block, I don't think really has fit. They are replacement buildings of the true historic buildings. I really applaud the idea of bringing back the massing and the scale of the building that was there before. I think this is the appropriate direction for this corner.
Anyone else? So basically, we're saying the utility of the building as is there now is of no use to anyone. So there's only one way to go, and that's down.
Essentially, yes.
For Mr. Chair, to use a contrast, across the street was the old Condon Woolen ones.
Yes.
Right? That was torn down,
Yeah.
and Carl Stevens with the Gray Group
Yeah.
built that new structure that's where you have Starbucks on the corner of Dorchester and Queen. It's 4 stories too, isn't it, Jamie?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so this would more or less mirror it. And
It's
you're
a
looking at doing it
similar
with brick,
Mm-hmm.
not metal siding, something.
Yeah, we would certainly do Queen Street in brick. I don't know that we do both of the side elevations. But again, I think that's up for discussion at this point. But I think it's just expensive to do all 4 sides in brick, and I think it would be nice to have a secondary material somewhere.
Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to kind of echo what a few others have said. I think it's really creative that you went back in history and saw the original structure and how it kind of went against or didn't favor what the 500 lot said about lower in the front and higher in the back, but you brought back the original kind of character of it. I think it's beautiful. Yeah, well done.
Okay, anyone else?
Just one comment.
Yeah.
This is, since I've been on this board, the 3rd time that we've dealt with this issue, and I'm not quite sure what we're being asked to do. We're not surely being asked to comment on or approve the constant design of the building.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Not today.
We're not really being asked anything.
The only thing we're being asked is the existing building that's there.
Right.
Do we want to designate it as a heritage
Okay,
resource?
yes,
That's really the only thing we're being asked.
right.
Tara?
I'd like to say that I agree with Greg that the heritage value of the existing building is not significant compared to other buildings in the street, and I don't have difficulty letting it go, so therefore I am not in favor of designating it.
Okay.
I agree.
So Todd, do you want an official vote on this?
Nope, we don't need
Just
to
the
make a vote
feelings.
on it. Just the only, if we were going to designate it, then we would move and
Yeah.
make a motion for that.
Because it's not already designated now, so we
That's
don't
correct.
right.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be used for anything?
No.
It can't be. You're not allowed the general public couldn't have it.
It's not safe either.
Yeah.
Shannon, just to clarify, Mr. Chair, Shannon, just to clarify, so if you were looking at doing the brick, it would only be on the Queen Street side, and then you go with cladding on the Dorchester side, similar to what we have next door to the Ceridian building, brick on the front, cladding on the side. If you look at what the Gray Group did, and I know that Bevan will say that, like, where's the money gonna come from? The job the Gray Group did with the Cara Stevens and McKay building, excellent, and it looks like it was always there.
Yeah.
I'd really ask you to take that into consideration.
What's on the side of theirs, Mayor? It's wood or
On the
on the side?
Dorchester side, it's
Wood?
maybe wood combined with wood,
No, it's all
It's brick on the
masonry
corner, I
except for the
think.
back.
Yeah.
except for the back, which faces over the parking lot, right?
That's just
That's right.
Yeah.
So both sides, on the north side, the south side, and also on the east side facing onto Queen, it's
Yeah.
all brick.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the cladding on the back would be what you'd see when you park your car.
Mhm.
But again, it does a great job for highlighting that
So this,
structure.
that proposal would go through design review process.
Yes.
And the design review guidelines do address materials and addressing street corners like that, so, and then it would go forward to design review committee.
So just suggesting to Shana that when they go to the next step to design, that they consider brick.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I think it's the consensus of this committee that these folks just proceed.
Right?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Just
Sorry.
since both the architect and the developer here, just because we've seen numerous iterations of this, can you guys talk a little bit about maybe, say, if we call this phase 1, what's phase 2, what's phase 3? So as part of the Heritage Board, is the intent then, okay, demolition of the middle building, next step? Like, I'm just curious, bigger picture, if you can
Fair
address it.
question.
Yeah.
In 2008, Harry, whenever we came, that was not well thought out. I just bought the building. I have an architect, I didn't have a plan. I just knew the building wasn't great.
Yeah.
And so if we forget about that one and we come back here, we had intended on saving it because, and I don't know if I'd call it because of the compromise of getting the back approval or preliminary approval on the back stuff. So our intention was to save it, but in Sheldon and some others saw it, it really is not it just wasn't there. So the middle building, which I call the old Bevan Brothers building, has, although not designated, has value to me.
Some better bones to it.
Well, there's better bones to it, and yeah, my family has a history with the building, and I'm not willing to let it go. I'm willing to see it improved a lot. And, you know, they have a common wall, those two buildings, that old Allied Sales and the old Bevan Brothers. And they, so we have council approved, I think it was last year, a lot consolidation for those two properties. So that is our intention, is to have those two properties consolidated and with a mixed use within them. The downtown convenience is in need of a facelift, and so that would happen as well. So I guess, no, our intention isn't to keep coming back here.
No, it just.
No, it's a fair
yeah,
question.
yeah.
So no, our intention is to kind of do all of the work at the same time
Yeah.
with the renovations of the two next buildings, keeping the old Duffy store as is, which is in very good shape.
I have a quick question on timing. I know the building is rough and derelict and it's not a good idea, it's a liability. But do you have an idea of when you plan on building? I just wouldn't like to see an empty lot for, say, a couple of years.
Yeah, we wouldn't probably, because of that common wall, just because of construction stuff, we probably wouldn't, like, it would be similar to Kings, like we would demolish and go immediate. It wouldn't be a demolish and leave an empty hole there, we would go all at the same time, because it would be a liability sitting there empty too, the way
Sure.
we're going to demolish it, right? The hole in the ground.
Okay, that's pretty well it for this topic. Everybody agree? Okay. Anything else, Todd?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn? Seconder, moved by Julie McCabe, Councilor McCabe, and seconded by Tara Lee, that we stand adjourned. All those in favor? All those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Good job.